Let's explore this further. Let's have a conversation on this. Peter Anti is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Africa, and Dr. Mike Boakye-Yiadom, a fellow with the Institute for Education Planning and Administration. And I want to start with you, Mr. Anti. You know the education system quite well. You follow what happens. This is the first time probably that we're having the Ghana Education Service approve a booklet for past questions. Would you say that is the source of the problem we are seeing today with all the protests in the schools?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers. Yes, I have to indicate that that is one of the main reasons why we are having this particular challenge. We have to trace the attitude of the students to the the exams, I mean, before they started writing the exams, and you would realize that there have been a lot of conversations about how we'll be able to know whether the policy have achieved its intended outcome. The three themes that were launched when the policy was implemented. The first one was equity, we have equality, and then we have access. So the time for anybody who is in the education space to assess the program completely is now, especially when you are looking at the quality variable, and your focus is on the output variable, which now becomes the quality. Then the policymakers would now look at ways and means by which they will be able to score high marks with this particular variable. And that is why we saw some of the activities that were carried out before the exams was written. One of them was, you remember, core teachers were asked to go to certain centers for them to be taken through a series of training on how to go about certain questions and other things. Then the textbook, past question textbook issue also came about. During that discussion, some of us came out and said that although the initiative was good, I think the signal that particular policy or that particular initiative was sent to the students will not be positive, and we have seen the outcome, because what the students were expecting, which we are in no means saying that justifying the attitude of the students, no, but then we should be able to also indicate that the actions of the authorities have led to what we are experiencing today.
But to be fair, I think that when the issue of the past questions came up, the major issue, and I remember the opposition raised that issue, especially in Parliament, the former education minister, was about the cost. I think that was the major issue. But right now, we are seeing a certain turn of event. You know the system quite well. Do you know of any promise made to the student? Because there's a certain sense of entitlement or expectation on their part, which is playing out in what we are seeing. Do you know of any expectation? Were they communicated to in a certain manner? Were certain promises made to them as far as this exam is concerned?
I cannot say any promise was made to the students explicitly, but the actions of authorities can convey an implicit promise to the student. And when I said that we raise issues, I'm talking about our institute. We raise issues about the manner in which that particular initiative was carried out. We were thinking that the ministry and the Ghana Education Service spearheading this particular initiative was faulty, because at the end of the day, the backlash was what we were expecting. Now, there have not been any explicit promise made to the students. I don't think anybody has said that. But as I said, if you have implemented a policy and the policy has run its full course, in this case 3 years, and you have three objectives, you have access. Access, recently we had a discussion about access, and then we were talking about the numbers. People were saying that, oh, you have not increased the numbers. You have equity. Equity, you have achieved it, because now in case of a gender parity ratio, you are having 1:1, sometimes even 1:2. So you are achieving equity in terms of finances. Everybody is getting going to school. So equity, you are getting that. Then quality, when you look at quality, which is a very comprehensive variable in our system, we all talk about quality, looking at how students are able to pass the exams. So the aspect of quality in the minds of the students will be our ability to pass the exam, so that we will be the policymakers would note or will agree that, oh, we have been able to gone through these 3 things that we put out. And that is the reason why I'm saying that our activities, our actions prior to the examination have sent a certain signal to the students that this and this and this is what is likely to happen. Remember, we kept saying that this is the first batch of the free SHS students. This is the first batch of the free SHS students. We gave them certain kind of names and other things. And those things might have had a psychological impact on the students, and that is what we are experiencing now. We have to look at their behavior in totality, but we have to also appreciate the events that have led to what we are experiencing now.
Let me find out from Dr. Boakye-Yiadom if he agrees with you. Doc, and if before this, last year the president taught some regions, and I remember in the Ashanti region, he told the students, I want you to pass so we can shame the naysayers, the people who said free SHS was not possible. When you hear that and you see what is happening, would you agree with those who say government has caused this and put the blame at the doorstep of government?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers. In the first place, I want us to have this discussion in the context of the schools where these things are happening. We are seeing this at the Boakye-Yiadom Senior High School and some other senior high schools.
Yeah.
I think we are overgeneralizing the issue.
Okay.
How many schools have recorded these negative incidents? How many students are involved? It happened in Boakye-Yiadom, it happened in some other institutions. I would want to have the discussion in that context. So what is happening at Boakye-Yiadom Senior High School? I am interested in the leadership of the school. I am interested in issues of discipline or indiscipline in that particular school. I am interested in how the school responds to crisis and manage crisis. And this is Boakye-Yiadom Senior High School. I have seen videos of some students in some other senior high schools who were jubilating that the exam was good, they prepared well, and they were able to write.
Indeed, I saw that of Prempe, I think, where the students were jubilating. But even that, we'll come to the details of that shortly.
Right. And then the statement from the president that you referred to, he's a politician and he was speaking as a politician. But I think that students, for a very long time, when students complete examination, these reports come out. Students will be talking about, we did well, upward, they didn't drop and all that. Now, because of social media, we are seeing the videos and we are hearing many of these things. I think it is not surprising that these issues are coming up from these specific schools, but I will want to find out how the quality of the school leadership and then how those schools manage crisis. I think we don't need to draw conclusions that may not be based on data. The district chief executive of that particular area has put together a 3-member committee, and I would want us to wait and get all the data and information so we can draw some conclusions. I think at this point, we are overgeneralizing and we are refusing to have the discussion in the context of these schools. Okay,
but when you look at generally the issue of politicizing education, and you refer to a school that was jubilating, that is Prempe. If the video I saw on the screening from is right, that was Prempe. Even in that jubilation, there was a song that sought to praise the president for whatever reason they think that he contributed to the success of the paper. Don't you find it problematic that politics seem to be eating so much into the fiber of our education system, so that even if it is for or against government, it's a matter that must be addressed?
I think you are right. I will agree with you. I think issues of politics have become too much in the educational system. But that is the work of the politicians. And I believe that media men, journalists, educationists, and other citizens should be able to have some of these discussions on a non-partisan basis, so that we look at the real issues and discuss the real issues and forget about the commentary of the politicians. I think it's not helping us as a nation. It's not helping our students. Let's talk about issues of past questions.
Yeah.
When we were students, we used past questions. The only difference is that this time, has been compiled in a booklet form for the students to make it easy. Yeah. Nobody is telling the students, and if somebody has told them that, it's unfortunate, but nobody should be telling the students that questions are come from these past questions. Past questions only serve as a guide. In their case, they were even given some comments and remarks from chief examiners that will further enhance your preparation towards these exams when you use this booklet. So I guess my point is, yes, the politicians are talking and they are trying to make political gains out of these issues. But as an educationist, I want to delink this issue from politics and look at the real issue and look at what is happening at Boakye-Yiadom Senior High School and the other senior high schools and draw conclusions based on the information I have on Boakye-Yiadom and not the entire senior high school system in Ghana.
Mr. Anti, when you see that some of these students say, we got the papers ahead of time, especially in Boakye-Yiadom Senior High School. Some of them say, we saw the papers and yes, when we went into the exam hall, these are not the same papers we were told that we should expect. It brings the issue of leakage of papers during such exam, which is an age-old thing. But over the years, I hardly have seen or read any report that suggests that somebody has been prosecuted or incarcerated because of his or her involvement in such an activity. Should we be going that way to set an example? Would that be the solution going forward?
Yeah, there is a problem. And for us to solve the problem, we need to tackle the problem up front. We do not need to be diplomatic about the challenge. The system that we are building, and it's been like that over the years till now, seems to place a lot of emphasis on the student's ability to pass the exams. Of course, for the student to progress in his or her education, he needs to sit the WASSCE and pass very well before he can get to the tertiary institutions. Students who are not able to pass WASSCE will have to maybe drop from the education ladder, or will have to sit the private exams for a long period of time, and when they pass, they can continue. There's nothing substantial for them to do if you are not able to pass your exams, which makes the WASSCE something very important to the students. Parents would want their students to continue. Teachers, in some instances, or in most instances, their performance is linked to the ability of their students to pass. Now, we've even gone to the extent that schools' ranking is based on the number of students that are able to pass the WASSCE. So the pressure on that particular exams is high, and people would move back and forth, go to places, do stuff to make sure that they get these questions for the students, either the parents, either the school, the teacher, or even sometimes the entire community would want the school in that particular community to exhibit 100% pass rate, so that they can boast with that particular result. And that is why we are having this kind of challenge. And if we really want to stop it, we have to rethink our understanding of assessment. We have to look at the entire WASSCE structure. We have to also find ways and means by which students can still continue their life, even if they do not pass their WASSCE. If you're able to solve these particular challenges, then the pressure on WASSCE ability to pass would reduce, and the desire to get the questions can be dealt with. As a society, we have to come out, be frank with this, and then handle it
and deal with it. Absolutely. And we're just wrapping up on this, Mr. Anti. I want to give Dr. Boakye-Yiadom just 1 minute to wrap up on this. Doc, the papers have just started. They have a lot more to write. Going forward, what should be done to prepare the minds of the student for what is left, so that we can have a peaceful process going forward?
I expect school leadership to be up and doing and make sure that supervision is at its highest level. When there are violations, when there are suspicions of examination malpractices, there are laid down procedures to follow. You don't go about slapping people. I know there is at least one policeman at every examination center. What you do is to report to the police for the law to take its course. You don't smash people's cell phones, and you don't slap people, and you don't refuse to give permission to students who want to go out and use the restroom. I think these are laid down procedures that must be adhered to. And I'm hoping that school leadership, the supervisors, the Ghana Education Service will ensure that schools and tutors and school heads adhere to these principles and these procedures. And I believe that we will have a very smooth conduct of the examinations.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And that's Dr. Michael Boakye-Yiadom, a fellow with the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration. And we also had Mr. Anti, Peter Anti, who is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Africa, joining us for this conversation on the protests we are seeing in some schools on the ongoing WASSCE